think you have looked at the management response. That issue has not been addressed. Why did the payments made? Why were the payments made before you are fully satisfied that there was acceptance of goods delivered by the contractor? Why did you use maybe means that were not convincing to the auditors to pay?
Chair, the payments that were made to the auditor, to the contractor, were on the basis of civil works, and they were all supported by measured works.
And their documents.
And their documents too.
What was the query? Because it's you raised it.
And even as the auditor answers Senator Omogeni, there's the issue of variation that has not been addressed. Why was that variation, which I asked before, why was that variation necessary? Is it as a result of loss of time? Is it as a result of extension of work, maybe variation of work? What is the issue with variation?
So thank you, Chair. Our issue here was, as at the time termination was being done, we expected a final acceptance certificate for goods, works, or services delivered by the contractor to be availed, and again, final project appraisal, just to appraise the project, the status as at that particular time. Then our other issue was value for money issues, where a project which was complete was now vandalized, like doors, windows, cold room machines, and finally value for money for the people of Kwale. Those are our concerns.
So members, it's very difficult. This matter, I've interacted with it before, and it is like a cancer in Kwale, because you've got a complete project, it cannot be used, you are told about litigation, and then the other queries raised by the Auditor General, when you dig deep into them, you might be aiding the cause of the parties in the matter. So let me apply the sub judice rule in our standing orders. I think...
Chair, rule, yeah? The last one, before you rule.
Okay.
Finally,
yes,
how much did the project cost when you are doing the work by the county governments on labor contracting? How much did you spend finally? Thank you, Chair.
I think that is something you can answer.
Chair, before the answer, Chair, you know, Senator Morgan has raised a very pertinent issue here, that both parties, especially the OAG side, is not, the attempt to clarify is a bit skewed. OAG, can you tell us whether these payments that were made, the 95 million, is it well supported? Are you comfortable with the supporting documents or not? Before we look at the issues of, because when they tell us this matter is active in court, we should inquire, Chair. But these issues of making payments, 95 million, are neither here nor there. They are not subject to sub judice. They should be in that space, Chair, because now you are making payment without proper supporting documents at that point in time, Chair. Then you are telling us you can't discuss this issue because the matter is in court, Chair.
You know, Chair, the standing order on sub judice, the burden is not on us. The standing order is very clear. If you want to plead sub judice, you said you're a county attorney. You're familiar with sub judice rule. It's you to tender the court pleadings before us and tell us this issue you want to query is live in court and it will prejudice my case. So we plead with you to invoke sub judice rule. Because my concern, Chair, I don't know that Ismi was not seen, the management response has not addressed the issue of payments that were made without satisfying themselves that all the supporting documents were in order before the payment was made. And I don't think that is a matter that is in court. I've not seen your pleadings, but I don't think that is a matter that is in court. You know, if If you,
We have attached, we have all the documents.
can we go there? Is it the court papers so that we can
There's
see
some court
whether?
papers on record.
Because what I wanted to understand, why was payment made, as the auditor says, without satisfying yourselves that all the documents were there? That's what I wanted to hear from you.
Chair, all the payments were supported by measured works, and they've been audited for all these years. But we can still...
No, Governor, when you say that, you just point us to that evidence, because you see, you are the ones leading yourselves into problems. If payment was not supported with acceptance of goods, you know what the law requires. Where is the evidence that that was done? The point of paying the 95 million.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was coming to say we will submit it to the audit that is on the ground right now, because they have audited it for the last 2 years. We will still resubmit the same.
No, that is not correct, because it was in the audit findings for 2023-2024, meaning that that evidence was not presented to them. Yes, they have audited it, but they are saying it is unsupported. So, Auditor General, can you tell us whether the 95 million was supported?
Chairman, you know, payments for civil works is done through several certificates. We were satisfied with the earlier payments, but we are saying that at the point where they were now terminating the contract, the final bit ought to have been supported with final acceptance of goods, whole works and services delivered by the contractor, and also final project appraisal, before you now say this is the final bit I'm paying you, and then we part ways.
So, Governor, was that done?
Yes, that
before
was done.
the final payment?
That was done, and
Was
we
the
have all the
95
evidence.
million paid in one tranche, or it was
No.
successive
It was
certificates?
It was successive certificates. It was not in
The
one.
auditor says for the final payment, at the point of termination, there seemed not to have been a proper evaluation.
It was there.
Auditor General?
Maybe they can avail the same chair and we can check, particularly with our teams who are on the ground in Kwale.
Yeah, so even though I was going to the sub judice corner, this matter remains unresolved, the way it was when it came before this committee at the last meeting. Of course, there are two angles, the effectiveness and the lawfulness of this particular project. Effectiveness, there's absolutely no value for money, because you can't have women and men selling outside of a market that has been launched. And I think it is upon the determination by the courts that we would then want to hold people accountable. Because if the courts find that the county government made the wrong decisions in termination, then the matter should not end there. The committee should propose certain sanctions on the people who made those decisions. For you to terminate a contract, there's a procedure. For you to retender or to go the labor-based route, I am sure there needs to be a professional opinion. The question was asked, how much more did you spend now on the labor-based approach, so that we can know the total cost of this market?
Chair, the labor-based costed 26 million.
26?
26 million. 26 million.
So, members, this matter remains unresolved, and the Auditor General must
maybe I wanted to ask,
keep it in view.
Other than what is here, did the management respond to this in any other way, or it's just the way it is captured here? Because I thought to enable us either remove it from the pending, you should have given us a satisfactory response to the issues and put the supporting documents, then we can say this is resolved or not resolved. Because you are now going to have us discuss it again for the third time. Did you respond to the issues as raised by the auditor? Maybe if you did, can you show us where that is?
The initial management response responded to every bit of it, but in today's response, we just responded to the committee's recommendations.
There is and clerks of the Senate, please, when you are writing these letters to entities, in case they ask for our expectation, this is not our expectation, what is before us. Because, you keep referring to the report that you sent earlier. When you come here, we need to get all the information in one place. So this response was a bit sketchy as opposed to our traditional management responses. I think that's why some of my members are struggling to follow through. So in light of that, this matter remains unresolved. But since the auditors are on the ground, the auditors should satisfy us that that final payment of 95 was supported by a proper evaluation that we can deal with without compromising what is happening in court.
Chair, just perhaps for the benefit of the traders who are outside the market, Wakili, perhaps is there an application to discharge the orders as they are now, just to see whether we can get access as a county?
Thank you, Chair. We've made several applications, but I want to mention that the matter is coming up on 4th, but it had previously been listed for hearing on 21st of May. We requested for an expedited hearing, so we are hoping on the 4th of June we'll get a hearing date. We made a request that we have the matter canvassed expeditiously. So we are hoping that the matter is coming to a close soon.
Okay, we'll keep that matter in view because obviously we don't have satisfactory responses and there is also anticipation of certain decisions that will be made on 4th of June. Let's go to Majimoto Eco Resort, phase 3. Auditor General, what were the key issues?
Thank you, Chair. This particular project was conceptualized on the 30th March 2021 for a contract period of 120 days. The contract sum was varied from 22,457,225 to 27,643,827 on 23rd June 2021, representing an increase of 5,186,602, which is about 23% of the original contract sum. And this was done before lapse of 1 year, contrary to provisions of section 139(3) of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. During the year 2022-2023, the department made a budgetary allocation of 1,953,274, but there was no expenditure on the same as no works were done on the project. Again, some payment of 3,233,328 was made under certificate number 6 on 16th December 2022, but the same was not supported by itemized measured works. Information available again indicate that the contract period ended on 7th August 2021, but at the time of the audit in September 2024, the project was still incomplete, and there was no information or management plans provided to confirm steps that have been taken to complete the project. So our concern is value for money in project implementation.
Governor, you read our observations and recommendations. What is the current, what is your update?
The project is ongoing with an expected completion date of 30th June 2025. The contractor is on site.
Go back to the fourth column on committee observation. Let's deal with observation number 1. The reasons for variation before 12 months has not been responded to. Could you give us that response?
The Chief Officer in charge of tourism is here. He will respond to these matters.
Chief Officer? And be very, very specific on why the variation was done before 12 months had elapsed.
Thank you very much, Chair. As regards the variation, we had to do variation because we were advised by the county engineer by the scope of the area where the construction was going to be done. So we followed the law to do variation, and we gave the timelines for the same variation. As regards the payments for...
Wait a minute. The auditor says that the law does not allow you to do a variation before 12 months have elapsed. Is that a fact?
Yes.
But you did a variation before 12 months had elapsed.
That variation was done because it was instated because of the nature of the area.
Was it within 12 months?
I need to confirm that.
But that has been the audit query that has been in public for the last 1 year.
We submitted...
There was a variation before the lapse of 12 months. That is what you're supposed to respond to.
I think there was a variation within that time.
So was that a breach of law?
It's a person. From the advice of the engineer, we were compelled to do a variation.
No, you said you do it in accordance with the law. Which law is this that you're talking about that contradicts the law cited by the Auditor General?
I think, Chair, I need to check on that again.
So do we take it that, one, the law was breached, there was a variation before 12 months had lapsed? We take that as a fact, so that we make our recommendations on that.
Let's try again if you can answer this one. What necessitated the variation?
Sorry?
What necessitated that variation?
The area is a very swampy area, and once when the contractor went to site, when we realized that, then the county engineer went to site. Then
the county engineer just realized that the area is swampy when they went to site for construction.
Yeah, because that is what guided us.
When they were making the designs, the engineers' estimates and everything, they did not see that the area is swampy, so that they can cater for that.
When it rains, then it gets very swampy in that area. So we were.
Where did the engineer come from? Is he from America?
No, he's from Kwale.
From Kwale.
He's from Kwale.
Then he should have known, or she should have known, that the area becomes swampy when it rains, so that they make adequate provisions.
You see, variation is allowed, but it must be within the law. Regulation 139.3 of PPDA, or under the PPDA. I am not seeing any exception here. Auditor, are there exceptions? Because you have cited Regulation 139.3 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015, which provides that, and I quote, no contract price shall be varied upwards within 12 months from the date of the signing of the contract. End of quote. Are there exceptions to that provision?
From that, for that provision does not give any.
So on this, guilty as charged.
You broke the law. Just say yes or no.
Guilty as charged.
Maybe it was an oversight.
I think there's an offense. And we shall go to the specific offense and deal with that. The second was the certificate of itemized measured works had not been provided. Has that been provided to the Auditor General?
We provided that, all the itemized work.
OAG, did you get that?
Chairman, I think we as at now, I think as the team was coming for this meeting, they were limited by the recommendations. They did not avail this particular one, but if they avail to our teams on the ground, we will verify and confirm to the committee.
But OIG, the recommendation must be read alongside the observations. Yeah, because you can't then just look at the recommendation without looking at the observation. So when is that in the file, the certificate of itemized measured works?
Yes, the entire file is available.
Do we have it as an annexure before us to confirm that it was presented to the Auditor General?
Chair, they may not be in the certificate, but we presented them when we responded to the management response, which is the first response, and also responding to the draft report that was submitted to OAG. All those documents were there.
And
And
it found its way into the final report, so you have a responsibility to respond to it.
yeah, so as he says that the team is on the ground, we'll still give them those documents that we submitted to them.
What is the problem with this project? Because it has been before me again. Yeah. The last time you guys were here, you were talking about the land being mushy, and so you can't put cabros, and it was just a long, long story. What is the problem here?
No, currently as it is, it's in the final space of completion.
Look at our observation number 3. There was no evidence to show that the project is ongoing. So where is that evidence?
Which annexure?
Yeah, from annexure 165.
So from these photos, where is the evidence that, number 1, it is ongoing, number 2, that these photos were not taken in 1993?
Annexure 167, there's an officer from the Office of the Auditor General who actually visited the site.
Governor and the team from Kwale, I think you can do better than this. You have done better in the past. What is a technical instrument to show progress? It cannot be photos.
Yeah, Chair, maybe just to help maybe from Kwale. So when you look at the audit valuation, and this is not Kwale saying, it's the auditors themselves saying, the contractor is on site, Chair. Restaurant structure, exterior completed, interior works ongoing, toilet completed. So, Chair, that is sufficient evidence that the project is either ongoing or it's nearing completion, Chair.
Unfortunately, that is hearsay.
Chair, it's in your own document.
That is hearsay. Hmm? Photos and telling us the project is ongoing is hearsay. Unless, because in every project, there are certification, there's a clerk of works, there's a technical person who can write a report to say that the project is ongoing, it is at this percentage, and this is what is pending. Do we have anything like that, OAG?
Chair, I can confirm to this committee that indeed I sent an officer with a team from Kwale to go and visit 2 of the projects. This is Majimoto Eco Resort and the food processing. And the report that came is that the project is indeed ongoing.
At what percentage?
That is what should be determined by the technical team from Kwale.
And that is a technical information that I'm looking for.
Yes.
You don't just tell me a project is ongoing. You need to tell me, as per the scope, this is where we are, and this is a percentage.
Yeah, so we made some observations that 1, the contractor is on site. Restaurant structure exterior is completed, interior works ongoing, toilet completed, pathway works ongoing, solar lights installation ongoing. There are some materials which are on site, which includes treated timber, gravel, ballast, tile, solar light, sand, and metallic rods for erecting solar lights around the compound. So for percentages, as I said earlier, that one, I think the technical team can clarify, but I can confirm that the contractor is on site and the works are ongoing.
Auditor, you would be safer to restrict yourself to technical information. Of course, there is the observation, which is part of the audit process, but it's safer to be more technical. Because if you tell me that work is ongoing, should I say that this matter is closed? I remember when you guys were before me, we spent almost 45 minutes on this. I would have been very happy to be told that the resort is working, it is generating revenue, and it is complete. But it's still another story that is not backed up by technical reports. The contract periods were supposed to have lapsed in 2021. Are there extensions done properly, legally, to avoid going to court like in the market case?
Yes.
Auditor General, have you satisfied yourself on that? That the contracts are legally binding, the extensions have been done properly?
Now, those are documents, again, which should be provided by the technical team.
Please ask those questions. Sure. I think what we have established is that the variation that was done was against the law. And we are going to point to that specific offense and make appropriate recommendations.
Chairman.
Yes, Patrick.
Please allow me to say that in responding to this issue and for this project, the county ought to have provided a project implementation status report. It will be on that status report that the auditor will have gone to the ground to verify. So, Chair, I think it will be valid now for us to ask the county to give us the status report on those projects.
Senator Amarumo.
And Chair, there was this finding that the contract period had ended on 7th August 2021, yet as at time of audit in August 2023, the contractor was still on site without an approved extension of contract period, and the project was incomplete. Now I know this is very dangerous. How is the contractor still on site without a valid extension of contract? Number two, how much is he supposed to earn? Is there likely to be variation of contracts due to loss of time? What is the response to this query?
Yeah, I'd asked that question, but you guys just glossed over it, but it was a specific observation by the Auditor General. Is the contractor still on site without an approved extension of contract?
Chair, I can clarify here that the contractor is on site with an extension of the contract. All of that we I don't know why they are not attached, but we provided. There's a request for extension of contract by the contractor, and there was an approval for extension of that contract. As per the scope of work, which is supposed to be given by the technical team, is that whatever the materials that were when we went to site with the Auditor General, the materials that were inside were to complete the entire scope of work. As we speak, the solar lights are installed, the cabro area is done.
Chief Officer.
Yes, please.
Again, I'll tell you that you are giving us hearsay without a proper report. The specific question is proof of an extension of contract, because the Auditor General raised it in the report.
Chair,
you didn't respond to it.
Sorry, Chair, to cut you short. But, Chair, you know the Chief of SAR, it's a house of records, Chair, and it's on record that these documents are available. Perhaps, and with a lot of humility, Chair, perhaps you can make directions that the executive can furnish these documents maybe within 7 days from now, just to, appraise ourselves as a committee. But I think the documents are there, and he's confirming they're there, Chair. It's just an issue of submitting the same documents, Chair, so that you don't go on this border space of calling our project as hearsay and, innuendos and all that, Chair.
I think the statutory custody of records is with the county executive, not with the Senate. So it is not for the Senate to say the records are available. This was an observation that has been out in the public for the last 6 months. The Auditor General should give me that assurance. If he tells me that he has seen them, I'll be happy, and I'll close this and move on. Auditor General, have you seen the extension of contract, this that you had queried?
Thank you, Chair. We have not seen those documents.
Are they available, Governor?
Chair, the documents are there, and since the auditors are on the ground, we'll give them the documents. We'll show the documents.
So I will direct that we keep this in view. It is outstanding. I am frustrated because at our last meeting we spoke about this at great length. I would have expected that when you come back, this matter would have been resolved. I think this would be the final time we are granting time for provision of documents. Otherwise, we should bring matters to a close by pronouncing ourselves. So, OAG, keep this in view.
Chair, even before you end it, are we likely to have Majimoto Eco Resort working by 30th June 2025? Because that is the new completion date for the project. Are we likely to have it working then?
Yes.
That is in 29 days. So, Auditor General, by 30th of June, they'll be closing their financial year, and you'll have an opportunity to update us on this. Can we look at the fruit processing plant, the phase 3? Auditor General, what were the key issues?
Thank you, Chair. The contract was given to a local contractor for construction of fruit processing plant in Simba Hills. And this was done on 8th February 2021 at a contract sum of 84,891,737 and for a contract period of 12 months. The issues that came on board: the contract was terminated on 24th January 2022 after a breach of contract by the contractor, who was by then had been paid a total of 27,868,014. The remaining works were retendered and a new contractor was brought on board on 16th May 2022 with at a contract sum of 52,786,053 and for a contract period of 12 months. The project was implemented in phases, and the implementation plans were, however, not provided for our review. Phase 1 of the project was completed in 2021, but the buildings were idle and had started falling apart. Again, monthly progress reports were not prepared by the project implementation committee, and the termination project phase was also not appraised before making final payment. Assessing bills of quantities issued to second contractor for the completion of the said phase and the original BQs indicated that bulk store wall surface was increased from 48 meters square to 487.6 meters square, or 1,016% increase in wall surface area. Management did not provide explanation for this structural variation. There was an inspection carried out on 22nd August 2023, which revealed that the second contractor had invoiced and paid for items worth 3,735,310, which were not delivered or executed. Secondly, the second contractor invoiced and was paid 4,200,000 in the year under review for Gabro paving materials on site, yet the contract entered into was for construction, and the contract only allowed for payment after delivery and installation. It was noted that construction was not in progress despite the contractor being on site 3 months after lapse of the contract period and without a valid contract extension. In the financial year 2023-2024, that is the year under review, there was no budgetary allocation for the project, despite the project being incomplete. Again, field inspection carried out in the month of October 2024 revealed that the project was not complete and the contractor was not on site. And our concern is value for money on implementation.
Okay, Governor, taking note of our observations and recommendations, what is your comment?
Chair, the project is ongoing with an expected date of completion of March 2026. We took the auditors to site. I think they can confirm that the works are ongoing.
Auditor, are you willing to be the witness for the county on this?
Thank you, Chair. Just like the case of Ecolodge, in our officer visited food processing plant, and contrary to our earlier observation in the month of August 2023, no, yes, at this particular time, the contractor was on site, works were ongoing. Can just mention building works including bulk storage, disposal shed and water treatment plant have now been completed. Civil works including access road, cabro works, parking and loading area, cabro works completed. There is construction of gabions, boundary walling, electrical works. Electrical works have not started, but boundary walling is ongoing. Materials including ballast, sand and cabro were also on site. Thank you, Chair.
But that does not address the queries you raised in the audit. There was a 1,000% variation, there was a lack of certification for works, there was a lack of implementation plans. So now that you went to the ground and found a heap of sand and ballast, does that take away the other concerns around lawfulness?
Chair, concerns now can be addressed by the governor and the team.
Yeah, because we need to guide the county to answer the right questions. It is not just saying that it is ongoing and then you put a photo. We must deal with the details in the Auditor General's report. So the first detail was certificate of measured works has not been provided. Has this now been provided, OAG? Certificate of measured works.
No, and again, as a guide I heard the CEO Finance continuously referring to management letter and draft audit report letter. These are interim reports. If a matter finds its way in the final report, you have to deal with it and you must provide evidence.
So far the procedural or the statutory queries that you have raised, have they been addressed in terms of certification for works, in terms of variations that have gone to 1,000%? Have those been addressed to your satisfaction?
No, except this particular issue of 1,000, I think we dealt with it in the last session last year, and the officer was able to explain properly how and we were satisfied.
But how did it end up in this audit report again? Because these are prior year issues. If we had been satisfied here, it wouldn't have found its way in this audit report.
I think this was an omission from our side, but the issue of 1,000% was addressed.
So I think what I'm observing from this session, particularly the responses on the projects, is that, Governor, you ignored the observations of the committee and dealt with the recommendation. You cannot deal with the recommendation without looking at the observations, because it's in the observations that the nitty-gritties are. Now, when we make a recommendation that you provide funds, it does not take away the fact that certified works have not been provided. I asked you this question last time. Do you need this project?
Yes, Chair, that's why we budgeted for that project, and that's why we got a new contractor who is on site and doing a good job.
What is a challenge from 2021? Because a fruit processing plant is a fruit processing plant not because the buildings are there, but because it is processing fruit.
Chair, it's because we are doing the project in phases. We are not providing money for one phase. It's done in phases. That's why it has taken long.
The project was implemented in phases, but the master plan and the implementation plans were not provided for audit review. Have those been provided for audit review?
Yes.
Auditor General, is there a master plan and is there an implementation plan?
Chair, if it is available, I want to say again that my team that is on the ground will verify. So let the management avail the same.
Governor, why is there this confusion? I think I've seen your responses in the past. You've been very precise. There are questions that I should not be asking. Because if they were in the audit report, then that is what you need to be responding to.
This is the first time we are getting recommendations from the Senate. Initially, we used to appear, and then because we submitted initial report to the Senate, and you looked at it. So this time round, we were just looking at the recommendations. I think that's where the confusion came in. But we are ready to provide all the documents.
But you agree with me that you must look at the observation alongside the recommendation?
You know, that was a debate with my team. You know, we look at these things together. And Chief Officer Finance can confirm that we argued a lot, but from your directions, I think...
who prevailed? Was it the governor? Because we need to know who to throw under the bus.
No, let me start from my team.
You must deal with the observation. Otherwise, then there is no point of you coming to Nairobi just to tell us that the project is ongoing. It makes this exercise a bit useless. So, even if it was a multi-year project from 2020 to 2021, and I have listened to this story before, what kind of budget is this that has to be spread over 4 years, now that we don't have the implementation plan before us?
Chair, the project goes to around 600 million, and we have so many things to do in the county. We are working on several matters, so we can't give the food processing everything. That's why we are...
At the end of the OAG's observation, he said that there was no evidence that there was a budget for it in the financial year.
It was budgeted for.
OAG, what did you say at the end of your
supplementary
submission?
Yeah, I indicated that there was a provision in the budget, but I think the same was not approved by the Assembly.
So was it eventually approved, Governor?
Yes, in the supplementary.
Of how much?
18 million.
We have the supplementary budget here. Is it in there?
Yes.
Is 18 million sufficient to complete it? Because I've seen your completion date is 2026.
Yeah, the 18 million is sufficient to finish the civil works. In the budget for next financial year, we've budgeted about 150 million now, for 115 for the machinery.
So obviously no value for money, but we'll also, auditor, you'll also need to look at the aspect of lawfulness. These long-standing projects tend to have, they might end up with other contingent liabilities arising because of the delays. So please keep this in view, give us a more detailed report, and please do not use photos as a basis or as evidence that work is ongoing. Let us have a much more technical perspective to this. Senator Chimera.
Sure, no much issues. I just want to invite the committee at its own free time to just go and visit these projects. They are happening, they are there, we are on the ground, we know what's happening here. It is disheartening when you say we are putting photos and pictures of what is not really on ground, Chair.
Is a fruit processing plant a fruit processing plant if it is not?
We are constructing, Chair, now. We are constructing, Chair. Next year, we will be processing these fruits, Chair. And you can come and see.
I think if I was to advise the county, don't go by Senator Chimera's observation. He is misleading you. Just go by what the chair is saying, that we need at least measured works to prove that the project is ongoing. If at the time of audit it was at 50%, then you've done some work. Let's have that measured work, which will present then to the auditor to prove that the works are ongoing.
We'll do that, Chair. We'll do that.
Yeah, so let me not declare Senator Chimera out of order, but take his advice with a pinch of salt. When you come here, we shall deal with the issues as they are, and the fruit processing plant is only complete when it is processing fruit, not when a wall has been built. So can we proceed to the governor's residence? I think that's the last substantive, or the second last substantive issue that we are dealing with. Incomplete construction of governor's residence.
Thank you, Chair. Key highlights. The contract was conceived on 5th April 2018 at a contract sum of 149,374,374 and for a contract period of 12 months, which was supposed to end on 5th April 2018. This was extended to 5th August 2019 and contract varied by 34,403,702 and the same was approved on 5th May 2029. Key issues which are observed in light of this particular project, the estimated cost of 149,216,375 exceeded salaries and remuneration commission set ceiling of 45 million as per the circular of 3rd May 2019 by 104,216,375. The county unsuccessfully sought for approval for ratification of this exceeded budget from SRC on 28th 11/2019, citing that the contract had been entered into before SCRC guidelines. Despite the outcomes, management increased the project cost by 34,403,702 without further approval by regulatory bodies. Again, the county, through a letter of 6th December 2021 to the contractor, issued a notice of termination of contract following recommendation of Director of Public Works, which is dated 23rd November 2021, indicating that despite having prolonged the contract period to 28th January 2022, the ongoing works on site was very slow and not as per the work schedule. And the contract bond had also expired at that particular time. On 4th July 2020, the contractor made a claim of 27,613,984 arising from interest on delayed payments of 3,669,375, idle labor from December 2019 to June 2022 made up of 3,307,246, idle equipment for December 2019 to June 2022 of 17,561,696, and an extended preliminaries of 3,175,666. Then on 10th March 2022, the contractor wrote to the county giving early warning of situation threatening to delay the works and or suspension of contract activities due to delay in payment claim amounting to 27,613,984 and delay in approval of extension of time with a further claim of 18,722,283 and 19,180,800. As at the time of audit in August 2023, the contractor had been paid 119,789,114. However, the contractor had abandoned the site on claims that the county government had failed to meet its end of the contractual obligation and was claiming a sum of 61,972,096. Then in the financial year under review, that is 2023-24, a total of 11 million was allocated to the project, although no construction work was done and the contractor was not on site. Our issue is value for money on implementation.
Governor, you have seen our observations and recommendation. What's your
The recommendations, the county executive, we had approved Kenya shillings 200 million in the ADP 2025-2026. However, the proposal was not approved by the county assembly.
What about
And the matter is still at arbitration.
What about the other infractions that have been cited by the Auditor General? The issue of exceeding the ceilings that have been defined by SRC, despite the Senate resolution. What is
Chair,
the response to that?
There's a Senate Committee of Finance had raised the issue, and the Control of Budget stopped disbursement on that project. We made an appeal to the Senate Committee for Finance, which changed that resolution about the ceilings. Our appeal was, by the time SRC was making the ceilings, we had already procured the land and entered into a contract. There was a contract ongoing. So the Senate Finance Committee resolved that since there was already a contract ongoing, it could not interfere in that contract.
You remember you made this submission at the last meeting,
Yes.
and we had challenged you to produce a copy of that resolution.
We did.
Clerks, did we get that resolution on record?
We can check after the meeting.
Is it part of the annexures that you have here? Because if you allege, you must prove.
Yes, there's proof.
Is it in the annexures? I'm not taking new evidence at this point. Is it part of what is before us?
Sorry, Chair, it's not part of this. The last time we discussed it, we submitted the Senate resolution. We also submitted that is the resolution of the Finance Committee that allowed us to proceed. We also submitted a requirement from the Control of Budget for value for money report. We also submitted a report from the State Department of Public Works for value for money for that project. We also submitted it to the committee at the time we were discussing.
Can you check that? Just confirm that we have that before us, because the Auditor General again queried it. The fact that the Auditor General queried it means it was not presented to the Auditor General, unless it was part of what you submitted on 17th of March. Auditor General, for you to raise this in your certificate, it means that that evidence was not presented to you.
Correct, Chairman.
So there's a crack. There's something that's not adding up here. So fine, I will advise that be presented to the OAG in the 7 days, in the next 7 days, so that we deal with that basis. The second thing that you needed to deal with is that you had a delayed payment of 3.6 million, and the contractor is now demanding 27 million, arising out of a debt of 3.6 million. Now, these are the things that we call avoidable costs or avoidable penalties. And if you confirm that someone made a decision that led to an expense that was avoidable, these are the areas where we usually recommend surcharges on officers in the county. So what is the status? Has this 27 million been paid, arising from a debt of 3 million?
One, why we delayed to pay the auditor, one was because of the Senate resolution. Because that Senate resolution from the Senate Finance Committee was given to the Office of the Control of Budget. So she could not release funds to pay. We made an appeal. Once the appeal, the Senate resolution again made a resolution to allow us to continue. But one of the recommendations was that other agencies need to do a value for money report. So the Control of Budget asked us again, we do a value for money report. So we also submitted the evidences we wrote to the State Department for Public Works. It came and did a value for money report. By the time they were submitting, that is the only time that the controller now was able. It took about 2 years for all those processes to be done for the Control of Budget to release the funds. So that is what caused the delay for us to pay the contractor the 3 million. After that, Chair.
So you are admitting that it was due to these processes that there was a delay.
Yes.
Is that an admission of liability? And yet you are saying you are in arbitration.
No, Chair, this was before arbitration. So after we paid the 3 million, the contractor came to site for a short time, then he disappeared from site. That is when we terminated the project, because after giving him 2 notices, 2 default notices as required by the law, he still did not.
So is a claim for 27 million still on?
Chair, in our submission, the contractor is claiming idle labor, is claiming idle machinery, but in our response, when we read the FIDIC rule that the contractor is relying on, that rule says if you are claiming for idle labor, you must prove that you have paid the labor. And the only proof for paying the labor, he needs to submit to us a payroll and bank evidence that he paid. The contractor did not do that. Again, the FIDIC rule still states that if you have to claim for idle machinery, you must prove for an opportunity lost. That my machinery is here, I have lost that opportunity. That is what the FIDIC rule says. The contractor has not proved to us that by his machinery being on our site, he has lost opportunities. So as a county, we cannot pay.
So what formal process have you initiated to challenge that?
Chair, in our annex, Chair.
Because as we do the Kizungumingi, the residence is incomplete, and there's a probability that interest will still be ticking.
Chair, Annex Chair 240 is a matter that is in arbitration, and is a brief that our lawyer has given to us. The unfortunate part is in November 2024, the advocate for the claimant died. That is Annex Chair 240. So the current position is the claimant has not yet appointed another advocate. The Institute of Arbitrators has not appointed another arbitrator to proceed with the matter.
So the works have stalled?
The works have stalled.
Pending arbitration?
Pending arbitration.
Or it's pending budgetary allocation?
They are both.
Because that's the third leg, that there was 11 million that was allocated but was not utilized.
Yes, Chair, the 11 million, we could not utilize it because now that is the time we were in arbitration. We cannot bring a contractor on site while he's still claiming his machinery on site. So the money is still with the county. It was reallocated to other functions instead of it lying idle. But in the process, we anticipated that this matter will be concluded. That is why in our annual development plan for the year 2025-2026, the county executive had approved 200 million to complete the project. But when it went to the county assembly, they reallocated those funds, the entire 200 million.
So far the contractor has been paid 119 million.
Yes.
I'm sure, Governor, if you had that privately, you'd put up a very good house, 119 million if it was a private house. I know that the state lodge in Kwale was built in 3 months, the same way the state lodge in Homa Bay was built in 3 months. At 119 million, what is from the assessed works, what is the percentage of work done? Work done, not payment, because sometimes you want to confuse the two.
Work done was 64%.
64%?
Yeah.
And that is in the report by the Public Works?
Yes, yes.
OAG, you've seen the Public Works report?
Chairman, we will confirm that.
Yeah, because you also need to look at it to confirm that the payments tie with the assessed work on the ground. So what would be the final cost? Or right now you have not determined what should cost to complete this?
Chair, the final cost, if we have to go to site again, it will cost us 240 million.
240 million over and above the possible 27 million claim?
Yeah.
So 240 plus 27 in the unforeseen event that was to be realized?
Inclusive of 27.
Inclusive of the 27.
What was your provision on this in the contingent liabilities?
Chair, I'll request for some time then to confirm on that.
Senator Maruma.
What will be the final cost of this house, approximately? If you paid even the 27 million.
Is it the 240 million or 240 million plus 27? Because in your liabilities register, you have made a provision of 61.9 million. 61.9. Njuka Construction Company Limited, Governor's Residence.
That is the claim that is under arbitration.
Yeah, of course, a contingent liability is in the unlikely or the event that there would be a successful claim against the county government. So you must take that as a possible expenditure. Yeah, so when you're quantifying what it will take to complete this house, it would be the 200 million plus your additional 40 million plus the potential 61 million. A governor's residence would be costing 300 million.
Yeah, Chair, but you know, as at August 2023, the contractor had been paid 119 million. Are you taking that into consideration?
That 119 is part of the original 200 million contract.
No. That is a provision in the upcoming budget.
Okay, break it down for us, because if you're struggling to build a 600 million food processing plant, which has far-reaching economic impact, I do not see how clever it would be to spend 300 million on a governor's residence. And yet the Senate has put a cap of 45 million. I have my views on the 45 million. It needs to be adjusted for inflation, but that adjustment cannot be 8 times. So, how much will it cost to deliver a governor's residence in Kwale? Hata kitu ikazima 350 million to deliver a governor's residence. What is special about this house, Governor? It's your residence anyway. What does it have? Jacuzzis and spas and.
Sorry, Chair, it was started before I became a governor.
You are deputy governor, so do not go there.
I was not housed then.
Do not go the William Ruto way.
No, I was not housed then. But this was as per the engineers' BQs. And I think they borrowed from somewhere else, from Public Works. I think that's where they created the mess. But because it has already been started, we have to conclude the governor's residence. It has so many things. Apart from the house, it has a conference, an office. It has so many
Those are
components.
Mentioning, Governor. They are normal things. A conference, an office.
The last time the committee visited the facility, and I think it's worth it. It's worth the amount, even though...
Governor, it's worth it when there's medicine in hospitals. It's worth it when your food processing plant is complete. It's worth it when your markets are functional. Isn't there a possibility of a scope change? Because you have spent 119 million. You are looking to spend another 230 million.
That is what I requested my engineers to go and relook at it. Before we begin lab phase, they need to relook at the what we can omit and what we can proceed on.
Yeah, because it's possible to change.
I did instruct the engineers to do that.
And Senator Maruma, be the reason why the County Assembly denied this 200 million.
Because the last time we had budgeted for 11 million and we did not utilize the 11 million. So even now, because we had other issues to look at, I think that's why they decided, let's look at the pending matters rather than a matter which is still at arbitration.
That report by Public Works, the clerk of the Senate, do we have a copy Or did you submit it at our last meeting?
Yes,
Because
we
I
did,
think
Chair.
was it ready at the last,
Yes.
as at the last financial year?
Yes.
So please provide a copy to the Auditor General. Auditor General, have your technical people look at it, and we can make recommendations on scope change, because it sounds immoral to spend 350 million on the residence of a governor, especially in a county that is also struggling to realize revenue. Your on-source revenue is 437 million. 437 million. Now you can imagine all the money you are collecting a palatial residence for the governor. Is it fair to collect rates and to collect licenses from traders for it to build a mansion for the governor? I think, Governor, perhaps mistakes were made. Delays have brought about escalation of costs, but your responsibility now is to rationalize and find things that can be cut out so that you deliver this to avoid it being a white elephant, but deliver it at less the cost of 350 million.
Noted, your Chair. Noted.
I know Senator Chimera looks forward to inhabiting that residence in future, but that cannot be the reason for us to ignore the excessive the excessive cost of that facility. I think it sends the wrong message, and I will repeat this, that as a Senate, we are firmly committed to giving counties no less than 450 billion. But when our colleagues in the National Assembly are going to come across this, that Kwale is building a governor's residence at 350 million, even your members of parliament from Kwale will oppose the Senate's position. So please make our work easy. There are a lot of success stories that I've heard from Kwale. I've heard about your education programs. I've heard about your ECD programs. But this 350 million governor's residence is going to spoil everything positive that you have worked for as a county government of Kwale. Honorable members, and unless Senator Sifuna, how much are you spending in Nairobi for the governor's residence?
I don't think we have such a project, Chair.
But what would 350 million get you in Nairobi?
Oh my goodness, we would be able to pay our CHPs. We only got 200 million shillings in the recent allocation. And they are crying about arrears.
But if you are to look for a residence,
I don't think that would be a priority. But 350 can get you a decent home in Nairobi.
An ambassadorial residence in Muthaiga?
Correct. Correct.
Governor, this one is on how many acres?
7 acres. Chair, I think it was out of excitement for the devolution because it was started long time ago during our first term, I guess. So I think the engineers were that excited during our initial days. But I can agree with you. It's not worth it, and that is why I instructed my engineers to look at it and change the scope.
What are the timelines that you have given your engineers?
Because the matter is still at arbitration, before we begin other works, we need to come up with another BQ.
I think those two can run concurrently because arbitration is on the 27 million. You need to show a clear plan on how you're rationalizing this.
So, Chair.
Chair, perhaps for perspective, does the Council of Governors care about the value of the properties or the houses that senators live in?
I don't know because I live in my house. Since 2013, county has not paid for my house.
No, I'm just saying.
And even now, I still live in my house.
If the governor for Kwale lives in a house of 350 million, I don't know if you ever care to know what the value of the houses the senator lives in. Chair, I don't know if you want to disclose the value of the house.
But Senator, I don't live in a house of 350. I live in my house.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is not paid by the county government.
That's what I'm saying. And the house you live in is sufficient, right?
Yes, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's enough.
In fact, I don't even want to live.
So have you ever asked your predecessor what was the thinking behind this development of 350 million? Governor, don't get upset. It's just a conversation. Do your predecessors give you any justification for that? Because you were the deputy governor in the first term, right?
I was living in my house in the first term when I was a deputy.
Okay, we have left where you were living. We are now asking if there was any conversation about the justification for that expenditure.
You will cause the governor to have health problems because before, she was not coughing before he came. It has just started now.
Chair, you know, Senator Sifuna is venturing into uncharted waters, Chair. We were discussing a very legitimate audit query that governor has sufficiently responded to. And it's on record that she says 359 million is not a house worthy of occupancy as governor because you have other issues to do. And I want the media to go on record because they might scream after this session that Governor Kwale County is building a residence for 350 million. As you scream that, also scream that he said it's not worth it. And she's agreeable to revising these rates. So Senator Sifuna here, let me finish, Sifuna. You had your own chance, I never interjected.
Proceed.
Please, Senator.
Proceed.
Senator Sifuna here is trying to box the governor to a corner she shouldn't go. Governor is clear that she's going to revise these rates and she's awaiting advice from the engineers. I don't know why it is an issue when she was involved, whether she knew whether the former governor was consulting this or not. That is immaterial in this session, Chair.
I think at some point I'll be asking Senator Chimera to enter appearance for the county
chair. And you know, Senator Chimera is not a member of this committee. We, the members of this committee, know that we have conversations wider than these audit reports that help to push devolution forward. Governor, your colleague from Makueni was here, telling us why he felt that Makueni did not need KIPES, for instance, and he explained. So when we're having these conversations, you know, Chimera, if you wanted softer conversations, you can always have them in Diani. Here in Nairobi, we will have those difficult conversations so that devolution works for our people. But Chair, I want to leave it there. And now that...
Yeah, but I think the concern is clear. So, Governor, please have demonstrable measures. Because you can't just tell us, you've told your engineers, it needs to be by way of writing. Make sure that is put in writing. I would be happy if that cost comes down below the 350 million. But I don't know who's in the finance committee here. The initial cap of 45 million is being flouted with a lot of impunity. So we need to ask ourselves whether it is effective and if everyone is violating it, because that seems to be the case across the counties, what then should we do? If Senate has made a resolution and no one is complying with it. We have, I think it's already 2 o'clock. I would have been happy for us to close it at this point. Maybe just the Technical and Vocational Training Center at Moabila. This again is a story of, is it complete, first of all, without getting into the details, Governor?
Complete, except for the electrical works. Connection. Yes, the electrical works are complete, but the connection is yet to be completed.
Auditor General, is that the same impression you had on the ground?
Chair, we did not visit this particular project, but our teams in Kwale will visit.
So
confirm the status.
Yeah, keep it in view.
Yes.
What was the total cost, project cost, so that we look at materiality?
CC in charge of education is here. She will respond.
Thank you, Chair. The project cost was 7.8 million. So far, we have paid 6.8 million. And there's a pending balance of 917 million. We wish to confirm 917,000. We wish to confirm that the project is complete. We can avail a completion certificate. On the aspect of KPLC connection, we had a provisional sum of 250,000. the KPLC quotation that we got was for 1.7 million because the institution is far from the grid. As a result, we need to make another provision of the said amount to ensure that we facilitate payment for the KPLC connection. Thank you, Chair.
So we'll keep this in view because there's a few things pending. Then the next one is on the dormant bank accounts. Auditor General, you've reported that this has now been resolved.
Yes, information available so that they have discontinued operating these dormant accounts. So again, we will verify. The team that is in Kwale will verify to confirm that indeed they are closed.
Okay. Chair, you rushed through that issue of the school. Is it an ECD school? Vocational training. But I've seen national government doing last mile connectivity to these institutions. Why can't they help you out on that one, Governor?
We are reaching out to national government to assist in some areas. So if this one will get an opportunity, if we get an opportunity for this one, we'll be happy. But we are yet to get approval for this one.
Have they supported any other projects?
Yeah.
Which ones?
For last mile projects, yeah. Several areas.
Okay.
In Kinango, especially in Kinango and Lungalunga.
Okay. We may proceed. Fine. On the staff establishment, Governor, do you now have a staff establishment?
Yes, we have. We have an approved county staff establishment.
So I think as we close our conversation, there was a significant transfer you made to the county, is it county bursary fund?